entrepreneur and founder of Operation Hope and the Bryant Group Ventures. And today I'm talking really from my perch as the founder and CEO of Operation Hope and where we are in the economy. I was on Squawk Box this morning with Mick Mulvaney, the former chief of staff for President Trump, and with Becky Quick, talking about an issue for a few minutes on national TV and arguably the most relevant show for business leaders in the world. So it's seen all over the world. But you don't have a lot of time on that show, so I couldn't unpack it. I want to unpack it here on Hope, the Hope channel, and really talk more about what drives the economy. You know, what's good for the economy, what's bad for the economy, what does history show us, where are we at in this moment in history? How do you fit in all this? Because I want to be your voice. When I go on TV, I'm trying to be the voice for those who don't have a voice in a way that's meaningful for all of us. Because to quote Dr. King, he said he wasn't here to save black people or brown people. He said I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty. And I think today we have a movement need that's in the business suites more than in the mean streets. I think that we've got to really not be about red jerseys or blue jerseys, as in political parties, but about putting on a green jersey, which is economic prosperity for everybody. Can I get an amen? I think that if you want to pick a color, it should be red, white, and blue. That we're the largest economy on the planet. But as I said this morning, we're only 13%. I'm sorry, we're the 13th in infrastructure. Let me restate that so it's clear. We're number one of gross domestic product, GDP, in the world, biggest economy in the world. And I know you've heard other things about China and this and that, but we're the largest in the world. But we'll give up that position if we don't reinvest in ourselves. What business leader watching this does not reinvest in their product, right? What family does not reinvest in its children and the make sure the plumbing works in the house and make sure that the roof isn't falling off? And this is the problem with America: is the roof is falling off and the potholes are getting so big your car will fall into it, right? So it doesn't really matter if the rich people have a Ferrari or a Bentley or whatever. If the dang on car, the axle breaks because the road you're on is deficient. And so our infrastructure is falling apart. So let me say this again: we're the number one economy in the world, but we're the 13th in GDP. I'm sorry, 13th in infrastructure investment. So there's 12 other countries that do a better job of investing in infrastructure than the United States. We're not investing in our roads, in our railroads, our railways, our roads, our public systems, our transportation systems, our the energy platforms, all of our systems that make the economy grow. We aren't reinvesting in that. But the biggest investment we're not making, and this is a big part of the proposed infrastructure plan that's proposed by the Biden administration, which hopefully receives bipartisan support, is because I've heard Republicans and Democrats both say it's necessary. They're just arguing over the number. The biggest thing is human capital. And what is Operation Hope about? What is my whole life about? Unleashing untapped human capital at scale. And so let's get underneath the rhetoric and talk about what drives the economy. So the perception is that Republicans are good for the economy and Democrats are bad for the economy. Actually, that's just not true. I've always said my ideal politician probably has a Republican head and a Democratic heart. In reality, it's that sense of balance. Here's the facts. Over the last 50 years, right? 50 to 70 years. Go back to to Kennedy for sure. Kennedy actually had the biggest economy. It was a contested. It was like then today. Contested election, issues with voting rights, issues of social justice, issues with the Cold War fight, economic uncertainty, and they doubled down on public investment. And Kennedy had the biggest economic growth by investing at the bottom of the pyramid, investing in infrastructure. By the way, that was the case with the New Deal. By the way, that was the case with the GI Bill, which created effectively rebooted the white middle class in America and really stabilized it. Was the GI Bill after World War II. Let me see. President Clinton, working with Republicans and Democrats, had the second largest growth behind Kennedy. And he was certainly, I guess you might call right down the middle of this fairway, a moderate Democrat in the way he governed. And the economy exploded by investing at the bottom of the pyramid. I believe there's 2 to 3% of untapped GDP at the bottom of the economic pyramid. Where is the next John Hope Bryant? Where is the next whoever? Steve Jobs, whoever your hero or shero is. If you love Oprah Winfrey, or you love, LeBron, or you love, whoever your business or aspirational heroes or sheroes are, let's find them in rural white America, in urban black and brown America, where folks who are the bottom 50% of the economy live. Let's invest in them. Let's get their skills up. Let's upgrade their software. Let's get their credit score up. Let's get their approvability up for accessing capital. And let's get them relevant to the economy and get them into the game. That's where I think the real fortune lies, is at the bottom of the economic pyramid. And history proves this is true. Whenever you invest in the bottom of the pyramid, it pays off at the top. Or put it another way, as I said in my book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, reaffirmed in my book, The Memo, and now the latest book, Up From Nothing, that even my rich friends need my poor friends to do better, if only to stay rich. I'll repeat that. My rich friends need my poor friends to do better, if only to stay rich. Right? So we have a country that's falling apart from infrastructure, from the lack of infrastructure investment, be it physical infrastructure or be it human capital infrastructure. Wealth and income inequality over the last 30, 40 years is indicative that we have profit taking and effectively investment day trading at the top. Folks who are interested in the transaction right now. What do I get out of this right now? So it's a transactional economy versus a relationship economy. What's our relationship to each other? And what's the big bet that we're making? And look, that worked for a little bit of time, but now you have foreign interests who want to eat our lunch. You've got countries that want to be us. Everybody wants to be an American, but an American, okay? And we're sitting here in a culture war, fighting with each other. Even the Bible says the house divided will not stand. Hello. So we got to stop fighting with each other. We have to realize we're at war. We have a cultural war. We need to knock it off. We have a war of really vision, or a war with a virus, which was COVID-19 and is. Thanks to we're beginning to win that war. We have a war really that's tied to culture of a lack of vision. So it's the same war. We have a war with foreign interests who wanted to take our position at the table, which is China and to a lesser degree Russia. This is real, and it's mostly economic in nature. And we've got to put the best team on the field and give them the tools to compete. Here's how GDP. You hear about this word batted around, this phrase a lot. Gross domestic product. Where does it come from? 70% of GDP is consumer spending. You and me buying toilet paper, paying car notes, paying mortgages, going to restaurants. It's not big fancy stuff. It's just you and me. 18% of the economy, GDP, is business investment. Okay, that's what they're talking about. A lot of the capital gains tax. It's business leaders and business investment, and then you've got a slice of that. That's the federal government and the local government. So those are the three huge areas of GDP. There are other smaller areas, but those are the huge areas that make up GDP. But fully, more than 2/3 of it is you and me. So what's being invested in you and me? Okay, so you've got to reinvest in us and the things that's driving the economy, so we can pay off for everybody else. You can take no pleasure from the fact there's a hole in my end of our boat. I just want to give a bit of a recap and go a little deeper, sort of backstage on the interview that we did on Squawk Box. Dig a little deeper into where we are. We need to have a vision. We need to have folks, again, put away the blue. This is why I like No Labels, the work of the No Labels caucus. Nancy Jacobson, which helped to pass the most recent couple stimulus bills. These are Republicans and Democrats who are working together. And America is, frustrated with folks not working together. Here's a shocker. What was the biggest political group coming out of the presidential election of 2020? This is according to Gallup now. My folks told me this. I almost fell off my seat. The biggest group, 41%, is independents. Then you have Democrats at 30-something%. Then you have Republicans at 20-something%. This is a shocker to me. People are saying, I'm tired of this bickering. I want solutions. I want what I call a get it done party. So you have this growing group, what I call a radical movement of common sense, right in the middle. Let me know in your comments whether you agree with this. That's saying, knock it off, everybody. I'm trying to put my kid through college. I'm trying to start a business. I'm trying to move forward, and y'all just bickering. And I can't pay my mortgage with you guys arguing. You do not grow your net worth by blaming your problems on your neighbor. We need a vision. The Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. We need a vision for ourselves. That's why at Operation Hope, we are betting on the bottom half of the economic pyramid in this country, the bottom half of America, reinvesting in them, coaching them up, giving them the tools to compete, giving them access to capital, getting them credit worthy, getting them access to capital so that they can create the jobs and opportunity. Do you know that half of this country works for companies with 20 employees or less? Do you know that 70% of this country are companies with employed with companies with 500 employees or less? I have so much to say about these topics, but I guess what I'm really trying to get you to understand is that wealth and prosperity does not come where you might think or you've been told. It comes from the least of these God's children, and we're all in this mess together. And if you don't invest in them, how do you expect to get an outcome? There's not a business leader, again, watching this that doesn't reinvest in its product. So, by the way, I came from nothing. I came from Compton, California, South Central LA. When I was down, it was the government-sponsored Community Reinvestment Act that got me a course in financial literacy. A banker came in my classroom to teach me financial literacy. I'm 9 years old. I'm in a public school. This is public investment now, private and public. The banker in a public school, teaching financial literacy, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, in our classrooms. Then I started my first business. Okay, got a taste of entrepreneurship. Then I, later on, would actually ride the bus from Compton in South Central LA to Malibu to my first job. So using public transportation to get to a private enterprise job. Today, though, the public transportation sucks. The class doesn't exist, right? The infrastructure I'm riding on is horrible, right? And so my ability to ladder up was facilitated by the government and made possible by the private sector. Then I was mentored by my first billionaire. Well, what am I today? An entrepreneur. And the folks who are being taxed, being proposed to being taxed at the top of the tier here, the folks who make $1 million or so a year, that might include me, by the way. So it's 500,000 people out of 135 million taxpayers. Well, that's a special forces team. That's America's special forces team. These are entrepreneurs and builders. And wouldn't we want to invest in the system that made us possible? Because I wouldn't be possible anywhere else on the planet. My business model, my personal story, which I tell in this book, Up From Nothing. You got it, you need to get it, right? My story would not have been possible in France, where the word entrepreneur comes from. Wouldn't have been possible in Russia, Japan, China. I mean, you name the country. My story, Germany, would not have been possible up from nothing. So if that was possible in this country, which has a lot of problems, but she's also amazing, was a democracy and capitalism, a horrible system except for every other system, this is only possible in America. Why wouldn't we want to reinvest in the system that made me possible and wouldn't want to and then take my model, our model, and make it available to all of God's children so that we all come up? You invest in black wealth creation, and even the racist wins. John Hope Bryant, I'm out. Go to Operation Hope today.